What it do, guys? It's your boy L2, and you know I'm back at it, doing the most, guys, with Do the Most podcast. My wife and I are at it again. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Make yourself at home, whether you're watching the video on YouTube or just turning it on, because we don't have this on Spotify yet. I don't know if we'll ever get it on there. We're kind of not technically savvy, but today the context and conversation we are talking about is common sense. And when I say common sense, you'd think you'd know what I'd mean, but I kind of went everywhere with this and research, and just a lot of it was like my own self writing down thoughts. So common sense is rare these days, but how? And we're going to get into some damning statistics on some specific things. Might make you a little bit uncomfortable. But if it is for the betterment and growth of some people, I think I've done my job here. But I learned some statistics today that were just
Alarming.
alarming, guys. So please stay at least for the statistics. If you don't stay for anything, stay for the statistical part of when I get to it, and it's going to be pretty early into the podcast. But be sure to drop a like, share, comment, subscribe if you're new. We appreciate that. Any interaction is appreciated and supports my our and my YouTube channel, and I do appreciate it, guys. I really do. So stuff as simple as navigating atlases, and if you don't know what an atlas is, there's the beginning of the problem of the issue. Or paper maps. We'll call them paper maps, guys. People have a problem with it these days. You can watch it on the Amazing Race. You know, that's a TV show where people like race to like do different obstacles and stuff. And okay, well, they have to use an atlas. And these days, the Amazing Race, a lot of them don't know how to use an atlas. They can't read a paper map because we've relied so heavily on GPS in the past 20 to 30 years. The last 25 to 26 years for sure. I would say they were around in the 90s, just not as common. They're so built into every computing device, computer, tablet, anything that can get access to the internet can get you to a GPS.
I mean, it doesn't even really require internet because you have cars that can just satellites.
You have cars. You have cars that have built-in GPS. So it's like, I don't know where I'm going. Turn right and 150 feet. People be like, 150 feet. Cut the wheel before, like, it just, common sense is kind of crazy. Memorizing phone numbers. Comment down below if you can truly, honestly, and this sounds like a big number, but it's really actually small because I used to know some numbers back in the day. If you can just remember 4 phone numbers of people, you know 4 of your best friends or family's phone numbers. If so, can you do 5? Most people can't these days. We just have them in contacts, have the phone numbers in contacts, and it's just like, out the memory bank. Because our brains are wanting to eliminate waste in a way that the brain can fully capitalize and utilize its energy towards what it would appropriate to task at hand. I guess it's the brain's way of trying to be more efficient, but in essence, it's making us dumber. No wonder dementia is a growing problem, and it will get worse in the next 25 to 50 years. They're talking about research. You can only take so many pills before you go crazy, and your liver and kidneys fail. But we won't. That's for another podcast. Another thing, man, and here's where I'm going to get into the statistics. So if you're waiting on the statistics and you wanted this and you want to get off, that's fine. But watch all the way through because we're about to get into some damning statistics, guys. And I say damning. You're right. I said a boo-boo word. Who cares? Patience while waiting without phones. Okay? And this goes, so we're going to get into phone addiction. About 25, 30 years ago, phone addiction, you would have said, hey, I've got a phone addiction. People would have looked at you like you were psychotic, like you were a psycho. Am I correct in thinking that?
Yeah.
Well, I went and did some research, and phone addiction is very severe right now. It's been severe, and it's only going to get worse as time goes on. In fact, Gen Z, and I guess the next generation is called Gen Alpha.
Mm-hmm.
Gen Alpha will not know a life without technology and the internet. I believe the generation after that, and especially the second generation after Gen Alpha, man and machine will become one. Babies will be born with parts, mechanical or some kind of gene editing, or there'll be something that is very technological with the 2 generations after Gen Alpha. I have a little philosophy book I've been writing / predictory. This is a very dangerous book. I don't say that in like it's got threats in it. It does not, but it's a very dangerous book in that some people would hate it if they read every word in it because I make predictions and stuff. And I keep updating and adding to it almost weekly. But here's your phone addiction stats, and these are pulled from Google. I kind of did like a middle ground consensus on the stats because there's multiple websites, so I had to give like kind of a average among the averages. So here we go, and I'm gonna do a keyword. When I do this, I'm meaning the keyword. 57 to 60% of Americans admit to being addicted to their phones. Admit. We'll go up to 60% because there's more out there that will not admit that they have a phone problem. Everybody wants to point to the substance abusers, like drugs, alcohol, the pills, cocaine, crack, heroin, all of it, meth. People want to point fingers at those people, but nobody wants to point fingers at the people with phones. We need them. Well, the one biggest excuse that I've heard from people is just from my own life. This is not statistical, but hey, what if I need to call somebody emergency? I need to call somebody because nobody has very few people have landlines anymore. It's usually the old folks that have landlines. So people say, oh, it's a need though. It's a need just in case I need to get a hold of somebody. And I understand that. But listen to this, guys. So in globally too, it's 49 to 60% globally. I would say 60 kind of runs along with America, so it makes sense. Most of these people that have admitted admitted to checking their phones within 10 minutes of getting up from sleep. That means instead of getting up and brushing your teeth, getting up and stretching, getting up and maybe saying a prayer or meditating, people are checking their phones. They're checking social media, which we will get into in a moment. Within 10 minutes, guys, these people, same people that admitted that within 10 minutes of waking up, they're checking their phones. Insane. Now, I get it. For somebody like me as a content creator, a YouTuber, you want people on their phones. Like, I guess in a sense, at least to watch my content, mainly my Fortnite gameplay. But it is kind of crazy that our first go-to is the phone. Is the phone becoming the new God? That's a philosophical question that I may dive into in another podcast episode. Gen Z is the most dependent on phone usage, with percentages averaging between 69 all the way up to 85% for Gen Z. The vast majority of Gen Z, that's people born from 97 or 98 up to 2000 and I don't know, but I think Gen Alpha is a little early, like 2020s. So all the way up to like the 20 teens at least, I think. Which is crazy. Guys, the statistics just get more crazier and crazier as you go. Listen to this one. The average user, and this was reported from the people that admitted being addicted, the average user checks their phone between 63 to 352 times daily. And we're going to I'm just going to go ahead and expound to the most damning evidence. Okay, they check between 63 to 352%, 52 times per day, not percent. If we go on percentage time, that's insane because listen to this. 71% of phone users, spend more time on their phones than with their partners, meaning their spouse, their fiancés, their girlfriends, their boyfriends. 70, that's over. If that was in Congress, if that was in any kind of other poll, if that was in an election, that would be a landslide. We would call that a landslide victory, or the majority. 60 to 71%, probably the same people that spend more time on their phone than with their partners, also sleep with their phone, meaning the phone is within reach of themselves, or they literally sleep with it in the bed. I've even read some things, Reddit threads, where people actually sleep with their phone like nestled to them just in case. 40% suffer from nomophobia. If you've never heard of nomophobia, it's Nomo phobia. Nomophobia. 40% of people suffer from the fear of being without a phone. And my dad even asked me in 2019 when I was in rehab, he said, how do you go 28, 30 days without a phone? Like, Dad, they take your phone, you have to adapt. Even my dad, as old as he is, couldn't imagine a life, a day without a phone, which 84% of the global population admits they cannot go a day without their phone. Admit, 84, that is very damning. And I'm going to use the word damning because it is so sad. And here's the thing, 79%, which is just upwards high numbers, 79% admit social media as the most addictive apps on their phone. That goes for Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, X, YouTube, TikTok, all the other ones I haven't named that you know about, and maybe I don't. Most people admit, hey, social media is the problem. Social media is the problem. It's a dopamine drip. It is a drug. For everybody that points fingers at the dope users, meaning the drug users, phones are a drug too. But we'll move on from there. Lost skills. So where once we repaired things, now repairing items, we replace instead of trying to repair things. It's cheaper to replace. It's more time efficient, I guess. Another thing, people they not use people actually use politics as a sense of identity. That's not very good common sense. About 20, 30 years ago, okay, you were in a political party, but it wasn't your sole identity. We like to set, ego likes to set identities, and so attached to identities that people end up like literally becoming something that they're actually not, and we're losing common sense every year. I wouldn't say little by little, it's growing, and it's going to ever increase. Privacy. Used to, people were a lot more private. You didn't know as much as you do now about people. If you want to know dirt and things on people, all you have to do is turn to social media, because social media throws privacy straight out the window, guys. Especially if you're sharing everything you're doing. And some people can't help it. Some people have mental disorders. Some people have I'm just going to say it like it is, attention whores. Rage baiting is a thing now. People actually make money on social media apps to piss people off. So next time you see something that you don't agree with, do not engage, because people are making money off of your reactions on professional accounts and profiles. They're making money, meaning numbers in their bank account, by your anger. They're profiting off of your anger, guys. I want to expose this so people can understand the truth, and then take the truth and run with it and do something about it and try to change the world. If I can change one or two people, I think I've done my job. And this podcast, again, we're not a political podcast, but I do like to talk about stuff that interests me, that concerns me, that even worries me. I like to talk about things. I'm a very talkative person around the right people, and I like to get my words and ideas out there for the public to see if you want to see them. If not, it's fine too. Another thing that you'd say, how does this relate to common sense? Well, because common sense is something you think everybody would just come across and just happen to know. Like, it should be obvious. This might seem like I'm attacking people, but it's not. Common sense we used to talk we used to speak English. Now you're probably looking at me like, what do you mean by that? We literally used to have conversations and dialogues. And these dialogues have turned to, we use buzzwords like, that's cap, brother. That's cap. That, that's Liddy. GG, GG. We've turned acronyms are everywhere. Instead of using full sentences and words, FIFO is recently popular among certain groups of people, right wing. We use acronyms for almost everything. It seems like there's an acronym for everything. Instead of actually we're spelling out words. So obviously people are not as good at spelling as they once were. Also, trauma is a buzzword. Now, I have read a book called Unfuck Your Brain by this lady. She's a therapist in Portland, Oregon. Shout out Portland. She wrote that everybody deals with trauma, but I think a lot of people include minor inconveniences as trauma, or natural things that everybody goes through as trauma. But I won't go down the rabbit hole of that. There's things that actually traumatize people, and then there's people that find excuses to say, hey, I'm traumatized by this, and it really isn't that traumatizing, which is not very much of, where's common sense in that? Basically victimizing yourself against other people. Does anybody remember the toilet paper crisis too? And during the wave of the global experiment of COVID-19, the toilet paper crisis, literally in 2020, especially, I saw videos of people fighting over toilet paper in grocery stores, guys. Grocery stores. They were fighting people. You couldn't hardly find toilet paper. My Uncle Steven, shout out to Uncle Steven. He had so much stuff hoarded. I didn't get to see it in person, but I had heard through the grapevine because my family likes to talk a lot and gossip, which isn't good. I don't respect it, but I get it. He had hoarded up a ton of stuff during COVID, and that leaves other people without. There's no common sense in that. Hoarding, selfishness, and greed. Another thing that you think would be common sense, but is not the case anymore. Respect has been almost wholly lost for authority. I had written down right below it, and it's biblical, it's scripture, but I'm not trying to take it out of context or use it religiously, but people are currently calling good evil and evil good. And people hate authority. People and even people in power. I recently learned that the Pentagon, many employees were using and sharing child pornography. People in high places are doing very destructive and dark and evil things, and people are okay with it. Omission, sin of omission. That's one of the worst sins because it's the most common, I think. The sin of omission, not standing up for what is right. You see something that you're supposed to do and you don't do it, you don't call it out, or you lack of doing something good. That's a sin in the Christian theology. But this is not a religious podcast either. Although I am a philosopher and a scientist, not a paid one. But another thing, so common sense that, okay, we knew that Nazi Germany back in the day, I don't want to get flagged for anything because I definitely wasn't alive for it, but people believed in propaganda, but it was less commonplace to believe in propaganda than it is now. You can literally see one clip of a video and people will take it and run with it and take it out of context instead of seeing the whole video. So propaganda, people are more prone to fall into the belief behind propaganda as reality instead of fact checking and verifying over and over and making sure it's actually what they said and not taken out of context. That's common sense thrown out the window again. Another thing, I'm gonna get a little into parenting now. I'm not currently a parent. I say that with a little bit of grief, but this is to the parent. Discipline, and that includes spanking. Whipping. I got whipped when I grew up. In fact, I combined with all my other 3 siblings, I got whipped more than all 3 of my other siblings combined. Turned out to probably be, I'm not trying to brag, but probably the most carrying one out of the lot, but that's not for me to judge. But whipping children is now considered wrong in a lot of cultures. I say cultures in America, but like subcultures within America and the world. But America, parents want to be their children's friend instead of their parent. And I remember my dad telling my older sister when she's still at this point currently having a quarrel with the family, like disowning us basically. Um, my older sister had told my dad, "Hey, you don't love us," and my dad said, you never told us you loved us," which my dad told me, and I'm sure he told everybody else. It's just he did tell a little short story about how his dad had never told him he loved him, but he said he knew his dad loved him because he shared Jesus, the message of Jesus Christ with him. That's how he knew he loved him. So, and the fact that he fed him, he taught him how to work, and be a decent person. Even though my dad did probably live like hell for the beginning of his years, his 20s, maybe early 30s, but we've thrown discipline out the window. Nobody has much, and it goes beyond whipping children. Discipline in adulthood, staying consistent with something, trying to achieve goals and seeing those goals achieved. It's just not as commonplace as it was 20, 30, 40 years ago. People will attempt something, it doesn't work out within a week or two, maybe a month, they give up, move on to something else. Staying true and staying consistent is key to success. And most people even go to work. Like my dad, I think I might have said this in a recent podcast, but my dad had seen people in factories look like they were coming into a prison system. The looks on their faces were morbid, very grievous, like they were, I don't know, like they had been like whipped 50 times and they were given a life sentence to work at a place they hated to be at. So with that being said, I want to open the floor to my wife to say some things about common sense and what you've observed in your life about common sense and the general populace of people, and where you're seeing the lack of common sense and how rare it is these days compared to maybe in your younger years or what you've heard in the past. Floor is open for you.
Well, I'm going to first start with, I guess, just a few of the things that, like, you had talked about with how just things have changed. Because not all changes are necessarily bad. I know we talk about how reading a map is not something that a lot of people are fluent at anymore, and I'll agree with that. And I do think that we should still learn how to read maps and everything. Technology can fail. But on the flip side of that, how safe was it to actually have a map out in Nashville rush hour traffic or Chicago rush hour traffic? Having a phone be able to tell you that verbally while your hands are able to be on the wheel, your eyes are able to be on the road. So there are some good things that can come out of that, but I do agree that it definitely can be a problem. I mean, let's be honest, we all depend on technology way too much, literally way too much. And all it would take is one person, one country, somebody who was tired of our technology to shut it all down, and we would all be lost. For some of us, it's how we pay our bills. For some of us, it's our GPS. It's our lifeline of communication. I mean, we've just lost the art of living not dependent upon technology. That was like my big train of thought with that. But I will agree that common sense is definitely not as abundant, I guess, as I feel like it might have been as when we were growing up. And I do understand you see things in different light. As children, like, you see it one way, and then as adults, you're like, I mean, where did we go wrong? And it just may have been that we weren't exposed to that as children, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I have something to speak about. So she had mentioned the atlas, pulling out a big map while driving. Usually, it was the shotgun person. Person
you just don't always have like
that is true. That is true.
Though.
But here's some more damning evidence. Cell phone use while driving causes an estimated 1.6 million crashes annually just alone in the United States. These incidents result in approximately 330,000 to 390,000 injuries and over 3,000 deaths per year, though experts believe this is likely an undercount because drivers rarely admit, keyword again, to phone usage. Texting while driving is 6 times more likely to cause an accident than drunk driving. You are better off getting in your car drunk as a skunk, talking about 18 to 24 beers deep, 18 to 24 shots deep, than you are to be on your phone going down the road. Because at least drunk, your eyes are on the road. You might have some blurred vision. You might be seeing double. But at least back in my drinking days and I drove, I did try to pay attention to the road and my surroundings. I was hypervigilant of cops and stuff. I got paranoid. You're 6 times more likely than being drunk to have an accident while being on your phone, because your attention is being directed away from the road. Distraction level, it takes just about 5 seconds away from your eyes off the road is equivalent to a football field blindfolded at 55 miles per hour. Over 20% of teenage driver fatalities are caused by smartphone use. That's 1 in 5, guys. Over 20%. So 1 in 5 teenage drivers die by using their cell phone while driving. And using a phone, according to Google, makes you 23 times more likely to crash, guys. So I see what you're saying. I can see a big map pulled out. I envisioned that when you were talking.
And like a lot of times when you're using like the GPS function on your phone, you're not like on your phone. You've put your destination in before you pulled out of the parking lot. You have it either Bluetoothed or like auxed in with your auxiliary cord if your car doesn't have Bluetooth capabilities and things. So like yes, phones can definitely be that big distraction, but a lot of times I don't think it's the GPS function of the phone that's causing.
Yeah, if you're just literally putting coordinates in and then laying your phone down and letting the car talk to you, that's completely different
than texting, looking up a song, Google searching. Yeah, agreed.
Doom scrolling, yeah. But I feel like even probably trying to look up a thing while something's going on. Oh, I'm putting in a destination, but I'm already on the road. Oh, I'm having to slam on my brakes because I just almost hit somebody. I almost rear-ended somebody because I was trying to put in this long, weird address. It's 3600 Frank Bryan Street Boulevard, Suite B, E, 15th Street, something long and crazy that Google doesn't immediately recognize. Next thing you know, you're slamming on your brakes because you almost hit somebody. So, I mean, unless you're parked, and this is very nuanced, but unless you're parked and putting that in, it's still a danger. And this just goes back to common sense. Common sense is not very common these days. It's actually rare.
That's the issue, is people aren't using the common sense of doing it in a parked vehicle, on the side of the road, in a parking lot, at a gas station, etc. They're just...
People act like they live forever, that they own the road, that they're entitled to all parts of the road, and by God, you better not hit them or they'll sue. But I think that pretty much, I could go further. Now, that's everything I had written down. A lot of that, other than the statistics, a lot of that I'd just written down. It just started hitting me. Once I was in the shower and I was like, common sense. I needed something about common sense, and common sense is rare. Let's go on that, because most of these videos are ideas that just come off the top of my head.
Let's make common sense popular again.
Let's make common sense popular again, man. Let's make common sense more common instead of uncommon and rare. It's less than uncommon, it's rare, guys, but nonetheless, if you take something from this and apply it to your life for the better, stay off your phones while driving. Man, engage in community, connections with people instead of rage baiting people, pissing people off, losing your mind over things you shouldn't lose your mind over, taking virtues such as respect, patience, love. Stop taking it for granted and actually operate in these kind of virtues that I'm saying. And a virtue is something that is very important and highly regarded. Taking these and living by them are not only necessary and important, but they're vital for survival, guys. It's more than just, oh, I'm a good person. it does get down to the survival aspect of it. And man, it's just sad that those numbers are so big because each one of those people have a conscious, very vivid life experience, and we're losing it due to a device. A device. My dad used to make fun. I not make fun, but try to open my eyes to my alcoholism back in the day. He said, and I might have said it in a previous episode or an alcoholic episode update. He said along the lines of, uh, you're destroying your life over a beverage, son. You're destroying it, and I could not see it. I had to get so deep into the pit before I could see it myself. And I hope this serves as your wake up call, your reminder. I just wanted to bring it to everybody's attention, and hopefully you got something out of this podcast. If you did, drop a like. If not, I know I stepped on some toes, and it was true. Regardless of whether you like, but if you do like, it helps support my channel. Drop a comment on what you think. Is common sense as rare as I speak of, or am I a doomsday preacher? No, I'm just playing. But do leave a comment. Subscribe if you're new. Hit that subscribe button. We appreciate it. We really do. We're so close to 500 subscribers. I can smell it. Maybe that's my upper lip. But nonetheless, we do appreciate it. Share this video with a friend. Maybe they're really deep in their phone. You've lost connection with them because they're literally sucked into their phone, and the only way you can get a hold of them is through a phone.
Send them this video on their phone.
Send this video on their phone. I'd be like, boo. We appreciate it, guys. You already know O2 does the most with research and everything. My back, I'm so sore from exercising yesterday. I feel like I could just break, guys, but I exercise in most days of the week. Thank you so much. We will see you in next week's podcast. Do the most. Appreciate you. You already know O2 does the most. Over and out. Peace, guys. Peace.